I think you're muted, Guillaume.
Hi.
Hi again. Sorry, I think it happened to me like 4 or 5 times today. I'm so sorry. We're back for the last panel, and we're back with 4 German speakers. Sorry for not speaking German, and thank you guys for joining. I know it's late in Europe. Thank you, Benedict, Mike, Thomas, and Jorge for being with us today. And we're going to talk sim racing. So before I start with the introduction, I want to showcase a video of both initiatives. So you guys are going to see what I'm talking about. So World X and the Drone Champions League that you both represent. So we should be seeing the trailer from AX very soon. We should be seeing a trailer from the Drone Champions League as well.
Every sport has its origin.
That was amazing, guys.
They have been around for decades.
Can't quite get past it, but he still might hang on in there.
The turn of the 21st century saw the rise of competitive gaming. Today, the audience for these digital competitions exceeds 150 million viewers. Live entertainment and digital sport. Why not have both?
Side by side.
Hit the first obstacle. An incredible start. Catch him passing to take the lead.
What a fantastic video. I like it. I mean, we're all meeting virtually, and I think, we're going to talk virtual worlds. How are you doing, guys?
Well, all good over here.
Good. Benedict, you want to start introducing yourself and the Drone Champions League?
Sure. First of all, thanks again for having the opportunity to join the panel. I'm on my own here, so not with 3 people, but I hope I will be fine. So what we've done with the Drone Champions League in the past is we wanted to create drone racing from the ground on, right? So we wanted to make flying accessible for everyone. So we took drone racing and created tracks in the heart of the city, in Paris on the Champs-Élysées, for example, in Munich in the Olympic parks, and had our teams battling on those fantastic locations. On top of that, we always envisioned a digital element. So that's why we started very early on with the development of our own game, where there is no difference anymore for a pilot to fly online or on a physical racetrack. So we wanted to merge the two worlds of a sort of a physical race and a virtual race, to merge those two worlds. And initially we wanted to show that to the world already last season. Of course, through COVID, we hadn't had the opportunity to do that. So we focused much more on the virtual events, obviously. And for this season, we are envisioning to create the first ever hybrid sports series with 6 virtual events and 1 physical event at the end of the year. And that's, in a nutshell, an introduction to what we have been doing. And now I want to hand it over to Mike and his team to give a heads up on what you guys been doing.
Yeah, thank you, Benedict. Maybe Thomas and Jörg can say a bit more from our project. But anyway, I like the video a lot, and obviously what you guys are doing there. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, Dominic, I'm a big fan really of drones and what you are doing, Drone Championship. And honestly, we've been looking also a lot in the things you are doing to learn something what we can create, because we are doing, of course, we're doing it with cars, but we're thinking in similar ways, because we are going away from a lot of traditions, because we really would want to recreate something new. Mike and I and Jörg, we've been in real motorsports for many, many years, myself for more than 3 decades. So we learned a lot what is working and what is not working in real motorsport. And with the virtual world, of course, starting from scratch, as you do, we had not yet the possibility to do our own game completely, but at least we developed our own car and developing the whole race format, doing it really, really different. And in the virtual world, you can do a lot of things which are not possible in the real world, also in quite a short time. And that's what we're trying to do. Really, we started with a white paper, blank paper, and really sitting down and saying, what could be attractive for the fans? And we looked in the race format, and I had the pleasure to be involved also in World Rallycross with Matthias Ekström and his team. And I really learned this is for myself, maybe the best format you can have. Really short races, battles, a lot of starts during one day, a lot of close finishes. You can touch a little bit, but not too much, and really, really cool racing. So that was, for us, we go this kind of race format, doing something different. And also to have the short races, because in between the races, we want to tell stories and educate a little bit the people about innovation. And as we are going fully electric, and we said we do it racing for the climate, which is our hashtag, we want to tell stories in between. And if you have a long race like Formula 1, it's difficult to tell stories in between. But now we have short races, and then in between, of course, we talk to the drivers, but then we can also talk about the latest innovation and technology, electric cars, electric mobility. And yeah, so we are doing a little bit like you, and we are also looking a lot into gimmicks, also graphical. We invested a lot in having the best possible graphic solutions for our broadcast production, also a high-level broadcast production, which we announced today, having Aurora Worldwide Media. They're the producers of Formula E and Extreme E, so they will be our broadcast partners and production partners. So yeah, we're doing a lot to really make the best possible show for the fans, for the spectators. And we believe it will be also interesting for our drivers. It will be a very challenging format, because you can be out after 2 races on only 3 laps or 4 laps. So it will be a big challenge. Yeah, sorry, maybe a bit too long. Yeah.
Thank you, Guillaume, for the invitation. The same to the Green Racing News team. Thanks for being here. And like Thomas mentioned, and some others before, now digitalization comes to that point that the real world and the digital world are melting more and more together. If you look to real racing, the real motorsport, the work in simulators and in the R&D process in the automotive industry, the simulation processes are a big, big part of this process. And it's not any longer about gaming, it is part of the whole story. And motorsport in the past was big in evolution and very small in revolution. And starting with topics like Formula E, for instance, the motorsport started to get the revolutions, which is motorsport really needs. And in this same understanding, we developed this idea bringing simulation, entertainment, real sport together and build up this kind of e-racing league.
I think
Go ahead, Mike. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe from my side quickly, what I think is really important at the end, that there is a sport, right? So it is, in the sim racing or esports world, of course, there are really professional teams, drivers, like it is in the real world. And we try to combine this because we believe it's also interesting for the spectators to see, let's say, a guy like Romain Grosjean, who was currently, in F1, will do some IndyCar this year, and he will race against, let's say, the best simulation or sim racers in the world, for example, in our format, and I'm sure we can have cool battles. The car is fun to drive. We will have a car which, in theory, you could build in real life. So we try to achieve realistic figures there. And we want to show good sport, and that's obviously more my part, my background, to develop the car and to try to tweak it so the racing can be good. And then I think, like Thomas and Jörg said, at the end, the spectators and the audience, they will decide if they like it or not, for sure. But I believe we have a really unique way of doing things. And our first event obviously just will be at the beginning of March, the 11th of March. So it's not so long, and we are working flat out. And I think that's the start really of everything for us. I mean, until now, we work very hard since a year in the background. But now, I mean, the thing starts moving, and then I think then people will see it, and hopefully we have the right ingredients to put on a really good show, because I think that's what it is about, to educate, but also to entertain and to enjoy watching, right? And to enjoy the people which are racing there and seeing those emotions. I think that's what we saw really interesting in the Drone Champions League. The emotions you get straight away. Obviously, it was a perfectly done video footage, and it's really cool to watch, And this is what you need to create, to get a feeling for the sport and what people are doing there.
Yeah, cool is the word, right, for sim racing, I guess. I just want to go back to, is it a trophy behind you? Can you tell us, 24 hours?
Just by coincidence, we put it there. No, I mean, it's a trophy. It's actually the real trophy from Le Mans 2010, when we were, able to win with the diesel LMP1 powered, let's say, Audi. So that was pretty nice. Definitely.
I was born very close to Le Mans in France, so Le Mans is my heart.
This is a great race. I mean, it's so unique. There's obviously it's Le Mans. It's the man or let's say the human side and the machine against this race in a way, and then you have to survive, and it's so cool, and so many. I mean, I had so many ups and downs there. It's very it's a big part of my life, and I hope that I can go back there as a real driver for sure. So let's see.
And maybe we'll do 24 hours sim racing race.
Yeah,
maybe it already exists. I don't know.
Yeah, that's also fun. Don't get me wrong, but I still like to be in a real car as well. And like we said before, we go completely different philosophy with our format. We want to be quick, entertaining, bam, 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 and winner loser kind of. I think that's what you need nowadays to attract a big audience, and then hopefully we have that. We can tell a good story, what is happening with future technology and everything around sustainability.
So I want to. Oh yeah, go ahead, please.
Topic. Of course, this is topic number one if you look worldwide, and especially if you look to the news the last days, how quick the transition in car industry and mobilization is now going on. It is important to offer some points where you can combine entertainment, attractiveness with these sustainability topics.
The thing what we want to show, and then I want to give it to Benedict, maybe, that we really can have cool racing with electric powered cars or vehicles. And I think, Benedict, for the drones, there was never discussion having petrol engines in the drones, and you really show that you can really entertain the people with electric powered vehicles and drones. So that's really cool. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I think exactly as you mentioned, for us, that topic never really came up when we thought about it, because obviously what we do and how we race is always purely electric. I think there are definitely things how you can improve setting up a physical event. I think Formula E and also Extreme E are targeting that topic now as well. But for our side, I really like your format, because that's exactly how we came up with our format as well. It's short battles. It's going head to head. That's what's important, and the entertainment part that's what it's all about, right? It's trying to keep the people entertained and showing the beauty of the sport. And for us also, it's a little bit easier because we're not fixed to a three-dimensional or two-dimensional space on a racetrack. We can set up our events wherever we want, and also the opportunities you're mentioning with going fully virtual are endless, right? I mean, we can put a gate on top of a church or whatever in the real world. Obviously, that wouldn't be possible, and I think the mixture of both actually, sort of gets the best out of it, right? You have a lot of experience from sort of real life racing, and now taking that experience and transporting it into the virtual world is super exciting. And I think I really like your approach, and we have been on that for the last couple of years as well.
Cool. So I wanted to take a step back and show a little bit of story around sim racing. So I'm going to try to share a video, and then we can just have fun and watch this. So let me just try to pull the video. Sorry for this. It's called The Evolution of Sim Racing, and credit goes to the YouTube channel Donut Media. I didn't let them know, but hopefully it's fine. You can use it. So I was born in the 80s. I think I played my first games in 93.
Yeah,
so let's see.
There's some development or some evolution, that's for sure. Oh,
especially in the graphics, huh?
yeah. Wow. Oh, there's the steering wheel. There we go.
89, wow.
I was 6 years old, so.
Yeah, same. This one was the first one. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
And check this out. It's like overtaking.
Good braking. Good move.
It's
This one
amazing
was
how
good too.
simple it is in these years.
Wow. Indy cars.
It happened to me as well.
Nice car racing. Yeah. And they are big now as well.
Yeah.
Also
esports.
within esports, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
This I like always in America. They really understand how to put on a show.
Yeah. This one was amazing.
That was really good, to be honest.
For those days,
Yeah.
it was really good. Yeah.
This I played a lot. I think at the beginning with the keyboard.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then Gran Turismo, obviously.
That was a
Yeah.
big step.
I wish you could play online at this time,
Yeah.
because at some point, you get bored with the artificial intelligence, so you want to play with
Yeah.
real drivers.
Yeah.
And,
Which is also one of the coolest parts about it, I guess, that you can really meet, like us now, and you play or you race against each other and then just have fun and have a laugh about it. That's so cool. It's so easy and so convenient.
Yeah. Mike, have you ever sort of trained when coming up on simulators like that? Was it already established back in the days, or?
Well, I would say, let's say within Audi, we are using it before every race. I would say the last 4 years, probably 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
So a bit late. Some others, they were even earlier in Formula One to develop their cars. And then my own one I use here and there to learn a track, because as I don't have the correct model of the DTM car, for example, or whatsoever, it's a bit tricky. But to learn the track, it's amazing. I mean, look at that. Nowadays they are all laser scanned and so accurate. I mean, you know it. It's unbelievable how every bump, every detail, every curve. It's really cool.
But do you think it's usable now for young guys to really train and become professionals?
Yes.
Only via sort of, a virtual?
I think,
setting?
well, only is always, I don't know, but I think a big portion of your education, let's call it, in as a young driver, you can do a lot, because the racing, the interaction is so accurate. So you learn in a way to think what to do in a race, what's clever, what not. And then obviously the last bit of feeling, I think you need to be in a real car for sure. But we have seen that now, that young kids, I mean, there are some examples, even Lando Norris or those guys, they do it, Max Verstappen, since they are very little. Obviously they combined it with go-kart racing, but as we all know, real racing is so expensive. I think this is a great opportunity. Look at the GT1 Maserati, a little spin. But it's a great opportunity to enjoy this beauty. Let's say if you're into cars and into racing, even for people which cannot afford to do it in real life, and this is most of us. Even for me, there are so many race cars I will never drive in real life, but I can always click here and there and choose the car and the racetrack, like Formula One, to do Monaco or whatever. Is a dream, and it's so realistic nowadays that it's just a lot of pleasure. And what I really underestimated is when I did my first sim race, when I did it, let's say, and to start to get my license there and to get better and to go to higher levels, I was so nervous, to be on the start and on the grid and not to do a mistake, and it felt almost like a real life race. So that was, and I spoke to some other guys, and they all feel the same, and that's why we love it so much right now.
Yeah, but I think also the budget point is super interesting, because that was always the intention for us also at the start, creating something like this, because if you want to fly a plane yourself, the costs are also massive, right? You need to be 18, you need to get the license, you need to have a plane or at least rent something. And with drone racing, when you put on the goggles, visually, it's nearly the same experience as if you're flying a plane yourself. So obviously, that was a perfect opportunity to make flying accessible for everyone. Yeah. And I think that's an awesome opportunity, especially in racing with the same limits. There as well.
Exactly the same. You're absolutely right. And you train your skills, you really do. And even go-karts here with R Factor 2, you can start, my kids, I mean, I have 2 sons and they are 4 and 6 years old, and they love it. And once in a while they sit on, on my chest, and they go and they want to do go-karts, and then I enjoy it so much. So, and it's an easy way, and it's very convenient, and like I said before, it's affordable. So I think you can enter racing or start to create this passion about it definitely in a young age, and then that's a nice thing you can do when you're really young, but also when you are very old, you can do it. So I really think that's great about sim racing or esports in general. Everybody can take part.
I think it's a nice addition really to motorsports. I was in a panel on Clubhouse this week where we talked about this, that is really a new part of motorsport. And a lot of the drivers who are driving in esports racing, they don't want to become real racing drivers, but it's a new discipline which has been created. The same for you, for the drone racing. It's just a new part of the sport world. And so it's really fascinating. And that's what we also try with World EX, to really create heroes in our championship, like you do in your drone league as well. So that building a relationship between the the drivers and the fans. So and that's cool. And yeah, so that's really a new discipline. I think the FIA even is looking into promoting also esports racing to create something within the FIA to have it as a new discipline which complements the real racing world. Yeah, that's cool.
Exactly. I think it's not, obviously you don't take away anything from the real racing world, but it's an addition. And still the human side, which we saw in your video and which we will really put our focus on, it's the human beings which you want to see doing that, and the emotions. Because at the end of the day, every sport, everything you watch, you wanna have sympathy for somebody in there, or you don't like the other one, right? And this is what creates the emotion. And then if you see them battling and you see their emotions, I think that's really important to add that dimension.
That's why Twitch is very famous, and very popular, because at the beginning you're like, why should I watch someone play video games? And at the end, like especially since the pandemic, I think what happened, Formula One was stopped basically, and they started to compete in the virtual world, and we're all watching, and that was super cool.
Yeah,
very true. The pandemic is just an accelerator for this development, which is ongoing since a couple of years, as we have seen on your video.
No, absolutely.
Go ahead.
I think I just wanted to follow that point Jörg was mentioning. As I briefly touched it at the start, we had a perfect set of real life events planned for last season. We wanted to go to Moscow, we wanted to go to China again, but obviously that wasn't possible. But luckily, we just had launched our game, and we used that energy actually to focus fully on creating the virtual race season, right? And now it's exactly as you said. It kind of served as an accelerator to steepen the learning curve and use all the knowledge we had to focus on creating that hybrid sport we've always been dreaming about. And I think just one point I want to mention here, and I think it fits perfectly within that LATAM forum, that we're going to host our real life event this year in Mexico City, in the bullfighting arena in Mexico City. And I think that's exactly what we need, right? We need a combination to do a perfect storytelling, Mike, exactly as you said, to create those heroes and give the spectators something to die for, so to speak, that they really engage with the audience. And we've seen that a lot now, partnering with Twitch in the last year, that engaging with the audience and creating that fan base is the ultimate goal at the end of the year, especially for such a young sport which is still, if you consider esports still a niche, then what we do is a niche within a niche, And so we need to take all the know-how we have from real life racing and virtual racing and combine it all into one to grow the community even further.
There's a nice comment from Elysium. It's been commenting a lot today, and thank you for that. Sim racing is the only esport that is equivalent to the real world. If I play NBA 2K against LeBron, it's not the same. But if I race Verstappen on the Sims, it's true.
Yeah, it's true. It's a bit true.
Very true. Yeah.
And maybe Benedict, we can one day invite one of your drone league drivers or racers, how you call it, to maybe have a guest drive in one of our races, and the other way around. Maybe it would be funny. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I think another point which I wanted to mention, according to the question you just showed, is that's what was always our passion about creating the heroes, that where you have the chance now to compete with the best in the world on the real life at the end of the day, right? Because you can sort of qualify through the virtual world to compete with the best in the world at the DCL. And I think exactly as the question was mentioning, that you can play FIFA as long as you want, but you're always missing that physical element, right? But within racing, and also what we do, we kind of even take that step further, because we don't have that physical element in drone racing anyways. Because if you're sitting at home and flying with the goggle in front of your computer or your TV, in the real event, you just sit on a chair and put on the goggles. So we still don't have that physical element anyways. And I think there are so many options, and I'm so excited to see the start of your season, because that new world offers so many cool opportunities now to really focus and create a new way of entertainment at the end of the day.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you about the pandemic. Obviously, a year ago, I think our lives changed. Everyone's lives changed. So how did it affect sim racing? Obviously the pandemic is a very bad news for everyone. But did it accelerate sim racing?
Well, I mean, to be honest, yes, it accelerates this for sure, in a way. On the other hand, we also know that there is also a downside, clearly, for everybody, even in our business, let's say, because it's not that easy to convince partners and big companies to invest in those days, which it is difficult. Everybody has to really rethink how is this going to develop in a business case, and not our own, let's say, our company, but their own problems, right, in the market, wherever their field is. So I think there are a lot of issues, but on the other hand, there is, in a way, for us, it just ramped up the sim racing, clearly, but also when the real racing comes back, it will be a bit more quiet, let's say. And at the end, I believe there will be 1 or 2 huge championships, which will be the most famous ones, like in any sport. And definitely that's our goal, to be one of those. That's clear. So yeah, overall, to be honest, it's still a huge negative. I think there's not much positive to say about that pandemic for the whole world. That's clear. But nevertheless, we started before the pandemic happened, let's say, to fund the company or to start the company and to get it going. But then we actually took a little bit of speed out, and we said, okay, let's wait a second, and because there were so many championships popping up, and we could learn from that as well, because we really watched and we saw what is good, what is not good, and what can we do better, and that's why we took our time, and we tried to start hopefully with a really good quality.
Good, thank you for that. Anyone wants to comment? Benedict, what happened to you guys?
Well, yeah, I mean, I briefly touched it, obviously we always had it as our long-term objective to be having virtual and real life events, right? We definitely didn't intend it to be happening on that fast pace. But, as I said, I think for us as a company, it helped us to learn a lot in a very short time. Nevertheless, I need to agree with Mike. It's not only focusing on us, we are also very much dependent on partners, on locations in our situation, on also the teams, and those effects are you can feel them everywhere. And I think overall, also I think people like to go to an event, they like to experience how an event feels like. Nevertheless, I think with the new opportunities we have, it's a perfect combination. But I think the effects, as Mike was saying, are obvious everywhere around the world. But it definitely helped put much more focus and emphasis on that topic.
When we started the project of World DX, we also had the plan to have a real world event in the end, to have the championship decision. So in a nice stadium, nice location. This, of course, we put on hold and put on ice when the pandemic started, and it's still on ice at the moment, because we can't at the moment predict and foresee when this will be possible again in a proper way. But for sure, for the future, this would be also our target to, let's say, have the normal season in the virtual world completely, really the drivers doing it from their homes or from the workshops, and not flying around, because this is also was with our sustainable approach, because it makes sense to have them not traveling, but to have the final event, to have then a lot of spectators on site, to give, like Benedict said, this feeling to the people to watch something together in an arena. this is definitely a future target. Yeah.
Good. So actually, we have a very good question on the chat, so let me put it. So from Ruby Ann, under which international sport federation does sim racing fall? Is it under the International Esports Federation?
Well, to be
Go ahead, Mike.
no, I think there's a lot happening in the background as this all starts, and let's say, to be honest, especially in racing, let's say motor racing, this world was pretty small and on a let's say lower level in general. So now it's all ramping up, and there's more business around, and manufacturers are getting into it a lot more, as we can see, and professional teams, drivers. So I think let's say the federations are looking into it. The ones from the real world, but for sure there's also an interest of some people already involved since many years, maybe taking that over. So I think there's an interesting development happening in the background, and right now I would say there is no one there's no one organization. So I think there's still which is also interesting. I think that's also good.
World, you need, in the past, you needed someone who organized the race, organized the place, and organized the rules, all these things. And in the digital world, the entry level is much, much, much lower. And now the public is coming and building up this tree till the top. And this makes things growing in the other way than in the past.
As there is no federation, yes, I agree with Jörg, it's easy to set it up and make it happen, but we looked into it and said, we need somehow a neutral organization to have the ruling of this, because there could be a lot of discussions when you don't have a steward from the FIA or the DMSB in Germany. So we went to the Automobilclub von Deutschland, the AWD, the organizer of the German Formula 1 Grand Prix, and we asked them to be our sporting organizer. So they do the whole ruling of the races. So that's nothing we are involved in, because we want to have it neutral. So they are for us like our own very small federation, doing all the legal part and the rulings and during the races. But as Mike says, at the moment there's no real federation for it, and I think it's the same in drone racing. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I'm not sure how you guys, what experiences you had. Whenever we are talking with pure esports enthusiasts, they are telling us, "Hey, you guys are racing." Right? And if we go and talk to people from racing, they are telling us, "Hey, you guys are esports." So we're kind of in between, and I think it's a good point, Jörg, what you're mentioning. At a very high professional level, and obviously in the real world, you need federations, right? Because there's so much at stake, right? There's so much money involved. There's so much, lives involved also in racing, right? There needs to be a governing body. Where we are in, I think, for a young company to also kind of figure out what works, how does the community conceive and how, what mechanism, what format is working, I think a federation can be to some extent also very limiting, because Mike, you might be well aware, and all of you might be well aware, federations aren't the fastest, right? So where we are, if we feel, hey, we got very bad feedback on this and that over one season, we can just quickly change it, talk to the community, hey, do you really feel about this needs to be changed? And it's like, yeah, okay, then we change it. And I think we are much more focused on the community than we want to be sort of the governing body, or somebody else being the governing body telling everyone how the show is run. No, we want to see how the product is, how the market looks at this. And if the market has some adjustments to suggest, then we're going to look at it, and we want the opportunity and the freedom to change it. Obviously, at some point in time, probably in 10 to 15 years, it might be worth having, overall a racing or sim racing, or however it will be called, kind of federation. But I think now, as it's all, kind of to be figured out, we honestly like where we are now.
Yeah, can imagine. Yeah, I agree on that.
So yeah.
There was another nice comment from Geni Wando. I hope to see a good sim racing for power boats. He's just giving us an idea there. So I know we had Rodi Basso from E1 series, the new power boat series. So maybe you can contact them. But yeah, I'm pretty sure someone is going to come up with something like that.
Probably, yeah.
I'm sure, yeah. For sure. Why not?
Anyway, I had a follow-up question. I mean, today's topic is really around sustainability. So, how can sim racing promote sustainability? What are you guys doing around that?
Right.
Yep.
It's about the awareness of how to do better in future, how to solve all of that. Energy, reduce waste, go responsible in your daily mobility topics, use electric devices, things like that. And to do this in an entertaining way and help to grow up this mindset is one big tool we do see, which is achievable with e-racing.
And then I also, you go ahead, Thomas. No, please.
We're even doing, as maybe an interesting, we're even doing a little kind of driver rating in performance, but we do it also in sustainability. So we have 10 questions, 10 themes where we check the drivers, what they are doing in their private or in their business life, which cars they are using, which energy they are using at home, are they using bicycles, what are they doing with the garbage and things like this. So we give a rating. And this rating has a small impact in the end on the starting grid of the final race of the season. So if they improve their daily life and so help the climate in the end and the environment, then they can improve their chances to be the world champion. So this is something also we then talk about in the TV show and in the broadcast show, and like Jörg says, in an entertaining way, maybe educate all of us all together to make a better world.
And for the championships, for the drivers, we will have a partnership with an organization like Carbon Contact to make sure to lower up our carbon footprint and to be aware about our carbon footprint, to avoid anything in carbon emissions and to find a way to get lower and to make better.
Yeah, I was about to mention. I mean, obviously, sim racing. I mean, you're not racing cars, but you're still consuming electricity and all the data centers, etc. So, that's probably for a follow-up question. But Benedict, I know you wanted to say something. So go ahead.
Yeah, just one point. I think that might also be a super interesting touch point there. The audience which we are talking to is much younger, generally on average, than in traditional sports, right? So we actually have the opportunity talking to that audience and raising that topic right from the start when they start to follow sports, right? Because I know it by heart here from the German Bundesliga. I think the average viewer is about 50 to 55 years old, right? So whereas on our hand, our average customer or average fan is between the age 30 to 25. So we have a much younger audience, and we can use that as a perfect leverage to start spreading the awareness about this topic right at the start, because those people will be our future leaders eventually. And I think when we start early, that's the plus we have compared to other sports.
And for the younger target groups, this topic is more in mind than for the older ones.
Exactly. Yeah. It will become much more relevant at the end of the day for them, right? Because they will be much more affected than people which are 70 or 80 years old right now. So obviously, it's much more relevant for them.
Cool, but it's not too late to be a sim racer, right? I mean,
not at all.
Sim racer at 50 years old if you want, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
You do it in any age, I think. Yeah.
Do you have any good anecdote around that? Any older driver or
Yes?
We will. We
We
cannot.
will have some gentleman drivers in our championship, or at least
Yeah, but
one.
no, I would not say gentlemen.
Senior,
Gentlemen, yeah, let's say experienced drivers. But this is good. We look for diversity, and that's another thing in our sport, here, or let's say in sim racing, which we also have in real racing. But as an example, you can have, handicapped people fighting on the same level, which maybe in real life they couldn't do because of their handicap, which I think is a good, way of also motivating people and say, look, you can have fun, you can compete on the highest level in the world, and this goes for women against men and so on. So I think there are many aspects, and also talking about. When Formula E started, I was not a huge fan of it. And I still believe there are some things, let's say, I don't like that much, but I have to say they really went a complete different route. And at the end of the day, they did absolutely right, because look how many manufacturers they have. Look how many manufacturers are in Formula One or DTM or whatsoever around the world. So they did something right there. And I have to say the racing and the entertainment is good. But what I wanted to say is actually with our format and our race car, let's say, built on real figures, right? Simulations, what you can do, or maybe what you can do in 3 years' time, also shows that you can have a lot of fun with let's say, 1,000 horsepower, 4-wheel driven car. Of course, right now you can't go forever, but our race format doesn't need that. So I believe this is a good way also to see, look, okay, it's the same with the drone. I mean, the sound, there is a sound, of course, when the real ones are flying. But what I'm saying is also there, you don't miss it. The action, the pictures, everything you saw is so intense. You're not looking for the sound. And I believe the same in racing. We all, let's say the older generation, we are used to these V10 engines in Formula One. It was a drama when they changed to the turbo engine. But now everybody's used to it. And the younger generation, they don't even care about that. So I think that you cannot always say, oh yeah, we need the sound, and otherwise it's not good racing and so on. So I believe there will be a change, and I think also that we can in a way educate and say, look, it can be a lot of fun even without a combustion engine.
Yeah, I think we always complain about the past. I mean, I remember in the 90s, people complain, like, oh yeah, the 80s were better, and then it's always like this. So, but true, I was, my first Formula One race I've watched probably in '93, and like the V12 Ferrari. I mean, I was a huge fan for sure.
Of course.
They moved to V10 and then V8, etc.
Yeah, but we raced. I mean, when we talked about the trophy, we raced the diesel in Le Mans with the V10 or V12 at the beginning. The thing was super silent compared to what we were used to before. And at the end, the car was so quick and so great to watch. Nobody said, you missed the sound, because they were so fast. It was frightening. When we did the test, let's say endurance test in Les Castellets alone at night, I was watching around the track the other guys when I had my shift over, let's say, and it was incredible, and actually I enjoyed it a lot more, to be honest, than a very noisy car, because you had the sound of the wind, you had the sound of the gearbox. Of course, the diesel also has a sound, so don't get me wrong. You could really focus on, let's say, some other details. It was good fun. And the car was, we were doing 340 kph at night. So it was still a huge machine. And we won Le Mans, and it was okay. And before that, I'm sure if you would have said to the people, look, we go with the diesel engine, they would be all like, this can never be a sexy race car. And at the end it was. And I'm sure it's going to be the same with electric cars. And we will see. At the end of the day, we don't know yet if it will be a battery-powered car or whatsoever in the future. This is a development, and we are just on the, let's say, in the beginning. And we are also free with our platform to go whatever way will be the one. We start now with a battery-powered car, with our own car. If manufacturers enter and they say we go hydrogen or we do this way, we are free. Whatever is, let's say, the future in mobility and racing, or we want to make it into the racing world, I think we are open.
And it's always a little bit unfair to look into the past, because you always miss some points you're not remembering. If you look, for instance, to older race cars, maybe you have in mind the noise, but you are missing the gaps you have when the drivers have to shift the gears and the speed which is missed in this situation. And that was past. And now we do have the ability to create the future. And this is much more interesting because the future, the way or the point of time where we will live in, not the past.
And I believe electric-powered vehicles can be very, very emotional as well. As I said before, watching a drone is really big fun. I like also to fly the drones and see them and feel them. I'm driving an electric car since a couple of months, and it's really fun to do. And I really enjoy that there's no noise anymore. It's really a nice part. I love the acceleration. I love the handling with a low battery, with a low weight center. So that's really cool. And I as well, I was used to race driving really cool sports cars. I love my electric car now, and all the manufacturers they're investing a lot in developing the emotion of those cars. And I think that we can help this as well with the simulation, which is really cool because the simulation is so real. And what is important for the future for the customers? So they go in the car, they sit. What is the feeling in the cockpit? What is the noise that I hear? That maybe artificial noise, and how the car is driving. So this we can all showcase in our game, in our racing, with manufacturers developing cars to our rules, and so giving maybe feedback to their development departments what the customers, what the fans outside think about it. So maybe that's a nice opportunity in the future. Yeah. And all going electric, or what Mike says, what we don't know yet if there's coming something different in the future in the development. So yeah, so that's very interesting, and we are looking always forward and not rearward. Yeah.
And if you think the other way, I mean, like in the 80s or whatever, when you were watching a futuristic movie, and seeing like all those electric cars and all those lights, and seeing the screen, everywhere, like, I mean, you would be like, wow, that's so cool. So now we're missing the past, but I think we're always missing something, basically. Maybe it's just the human nature. Yeah. But anyway, and then coming back to a few points, I think about Formula E. I went to a few races, and one thing that did very well was the fan engagement. So yes, it's could be weird for someone not used to it, but you can vote for a driver and giving more like battery power, and I think they found a way to engage people. So you have this app and you do it. So I think Formula One, what do? You vote for the best driver, basically. There's no engagement in Formula One.
Well, and one thing is also clear in Formula E, that the level of competition, or let's say the difference between the cars was at the beginning was zero, and then let's say when manufacturers entered, it's still very minor. So it's very, of course, you have better teams than the others or whatsoever. But I think what's important, and that's the difference to Formula One, which is still very old school in that respect, that the best car is winning. I mean, we have so many examples. Of course, the best driver, and they create good heroes. But let's be honest, if you see George Russell, who's a phenomenal driver, but if he's in the worst car, he's always somewhere in the back and he doesn't get a lot of attention. He jumps in the Mercedes and he would have exactly done the same like Lewis Hamilton. Without the mistakes of the team, he would have won the race. First race in that car. So that gives you a little bit, and we all know that. It's the same for me. I'm not saying I won Le Mans because I was so good, or my teammates. We had the package to do it, right? So that you have to be straightforward with that. And I believe what people really want to see is who's the best driver. Of course, technology in Le Mans, I think, is interesting because it fits to this race. But in short races or sprint races, you want to see really close battles, head-to-head battles, and not a car which is way more advanced. And in a way, you can jump, any good driver can jump in and win. I'm not saying that in the Mercedes, don't get me wrong, but we know that there is a huge difference in the level of performance. And this, I think, is also something in Formula E, which is cool, and for sure, which is cool in our championship, because the cars are exactly the same.
I think it's the same for the DSL, that your drones are all the same for the guys who are flying them. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And we always, it's pretty much the same concept what you guys have been explaining. It's about showing and focusing on the driver and on the ability for him to be a fast driver, or in our case, a fast pilot. right? And if we can focus the sport on that and on the head-to-head racing and then create storytelling around it with, behind the scenes content, or in our case, content about the exceptional locations we race at, that's what the people want to see. And, I agree with you. Formula One, it will be always interesting because it has so much legacy, right? But for the young audience, everybody kind of knows the more budget you have, the better the car will be, and the more championships you will win. It's pretty simple. And in taking that away is probably with Formula E, they have been the first ones to do it. And obviously in esports or in sim racing, that's always there anyways. So I think creating a level playing field where everyone is starting with the same capacities and then just proving if you're good enough or not, that is what the people want to see. And that's what's engaging. And that's why people watch it, because then you have emotions, right? Because people have to show why they are good and how good they are compared to the. And if you have that battling and those emotions, that's where the people, are attracted to. And
100%.
That's the way future.
Yeah.
Cool. I just want to do last point, talking again about diversity and women. Obviously, again, I think we wanted to invite more women in the event. I think that will happen. And if you're a sim racer, woman sim racer, get in touch, and we want to invite you to talk. And and you're right. You can have women and a lot of people that are physically not perhaps good in sports and can just be part of it. So I think sim racing is very good for that. I don't know if you guys have a conclusion from our chat. I know it's late, and it's Friday night, so I'm not gonna keep you for much longer, basically.
Well, I really enjoyed it. I have to say, also, to listen to Benedict, and obviously thank you again for having us. It's just great, and you see. Also, you meet a lot of interesting people like tonight, and you see how many smart people are involved in this, let's say, environment. And I really enjoyed that, to be honest. There's always something to learn and to pick up, for sure.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Thanks for having us. Very, very interesting to learn about what you guys have been doing and will be doing in the future. I can't wait to see it. And thanks for everyone watching, obviously. Thanks for the opportunity again.
Yeah, thank you very much, Guillaume, for inviting us and giving us this opportunity. Really a pleasure to talk to you and to know you, Benedict, and giving us the possibility to talk about our project and our approach. So you hope you watch the first race.
Absolutely.
We will. I'm pretty sure some people from Green Racing will write articles about that, and we will follow for sure. Well, thank you so much. I think that was a great summit. We talked about new competitions, sustainability, racing. There's more to come, obviously, and hopefully we'll meet physically one day. But again, I want to thank the organizer for inviting me as the host for today. And thank you guys for staying late. I think we're wrapping up. There's some cool videos that we've seen today that will be shown again. But again, I think this video is staying on YouTube. I think someone was asking about that, so feel free to look at it. Maybe some people from Asia tomorrow will watch it as well. So thank you guys again, and have a great weekend, and good luck with the championships. The partner hunting and everything, and if you can help, let us know.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Looking forward to see you soon, wherever, whenever.
Bye.
See you guys.
Ciao.
See you.